discovery is in a weird space. It's very fractured. And so in terms of your own research and your own investments, double down on what works first and then expand. Unless you are like a massive brand, don't try to be everything to everyone all at once. Know your ideal customer and make content for them. And then as you grow, then you can expand.
Welcome to the Simple and Smart SEO Show podcast. I'm your host, Krista Waddell, here to bridge the gap between SEO strategy and real-world business success. So grab a coffee or your favorite tea, and let's dive into smarter SEO for your business. Let's shift into a little bit of this conversation of SEO versus GEO. What is GEO? How's it different from SEO? Do you have a fun analogy for us on that one?
I think it's a very polarizing, controversial topic in the world of SEO because there's a lot of nuance to it in the sense that GEO, generative engine optimization, seems to be this new discipline for visibility in AI search platforms like ChatGPT, in Perplexity, and AI mode. What's problematic about it is before these tools were connected to the internet, like the first version of ChatGPT gave you answers just on training data. So it basically copied the entire internet, like at a certain point of time, and would give all of its answers based on that. And so there's very limited ways that you could show up in an LLM that wasn't connected to the internet. And all you would basically be doing is like, what can I do now for the next time that it scrapes the internet? But then they started using this technology called Retrieval-Augmented Generation, which is going to the internet, getting information about your website that's relevant to what someone's searching for, bringing it back into the chatbot and including it. And so now you can start to see where it becomes a gray area because the going to the internet part, the search engine part, is SEO. The just optimizing for a chatbot is pure GEO. And everything else is a hybrid. And so the way a lot of SEOs are saying, the argument is either everything is SEO. There's no specific tactics that you can do that's different than SEO. It's ultimately library sciences, information retrieval, like what I was saying, making sure your content can be discovered and crawled and found and indexed, like put into the results. And so GEO, the argument is like, yes, it's a lot of SEO tactics, but because the way the LLMs work, that they don't always give you the same answers. They are predicting the next words. It's a different type of platform. It requires a different type of discipline. So in a lot of ways, I think GEO is kind of a subset of SEO. What makes it more volatile is the fact that at a social level, you have CEOs and CMOs of major companies, Gartner, coming out and saying that the future is AI and the future is GEO. And so when we're talking like purse strings and how people want to spend money, if they're talking about, oh, we'll spend money on GEO versus SEO, even though it's a much more nuanced conversation, it leads to a much hotly debated topic about what do we call it and what is the definitive right answer. So at iPullRank, we do have a framework. We look at a level above that. Our founder, Mike King, has titled this Relevance Engineering, which is ultimately this idea. It's a discipline of becoming visible across all the different platforms, making sure that wherever people search, depending on all the different strategies, because all the platforms have nuances to them, you're improving your relevance and your visibility. It's a long-winded way of saying that there's no definitive right answer. A lot of people are calling it what they want to serve their own agenda, but ultimately, I think it's about visibility across the internet.
Yeah, and it changes from the perspective of really being able to commoditize SEO and being able to check a box like, oh, I did this and this and this, and I can hand that sheet back to somebody and say, these are the things that I did specifically. Whereas, like you said, there's more than just your website. You've got to do it across platforms. I love the term relevance engineering because it's so true. You can't just be relevant in one place unless that's the only place that someone would actually look for you.
Yeah, it's a semantic thing because it's like technically, optimizing for search on TikTok or optimizing for search on Reddit is SEO. But when people are talking about it, they're usually referring just to Google. And so it's like, technically, you're right. It's all SEO, but that's not what we're used to. So it's really just how is the way that we're naming the discipline serving the person who's talking about it? Because as a business owner, it's confusing. Do I hire an SEO agency? Do I hire a GEO agency? Do I hire, a digital marketing agency? It actually has practical implications. The words we use matter, and it matters in different contexts.
Yeah. Wow. That's so interesting. And you explained something, RAG, the whatever augmented retrieval.
Yeah, retrieval-augmented
Yeah,
generation.
so that explains to me something that I'd wondered for a while because I was an early adopter of Jasper. And Jasper's, their big thing was always like, we've crawled the internet up to this point. They were using that model. And then all of a sudden, ChatGPT came out, and pretty soon it was, no, this is up to date. And so I was like, what changed about the technology that all of a sudden, we can crawl now? Because that's what I really felt like was missing.
Yeah, I mean, well, so it's this whole the whole kind of field of machine learning and artificial intelligence continues to advance, and people are still figuring out. Like, we're still dealing with you'll see issues with hallucinations, the fact that AI just makes stuff up a lot of times, and that's really problematic, and that's not something that's been solved. And so, because AI wants to give you a confident answer, it never really tells you, I don't know. It'll always make up something. So being able to have retrieval-augmented generation, the RAG pipeline, being able to go to the internet and get information gives it a better chance of being able to give you a realistic answer. Like, eventually we would hope the technology advances where it can say, I don't have this information. I'm not just going to make stuff up for you. But that's not the case yet.
And I've heard people who are requesting sources, and then even sometimes the sources are made up. And I know that even with when I'm creating copy for my product pages or something like that, I have a brand guide. I have different reviews and different things that I've fed into the system. And I'm like, okay, create this type of page with this information. And it makes up something I know didn't exist because this is my business. I know what happens here. And so I have to say, hey, don't make up a quote. Use a review that's true and could be attributed to somebody who actually purchased something from my store. And like, oh, okay, I could do that. But it's like, why didn't you do that in the first place?
And businesses have to deal about this. You're hearing ridiculous stories right now, like a SaaS example where people are asking about this music software, and ChatGPT was telling people that it had this feature that it did not have. And so their customer service team got really confused because everyone was asking for this feature, and like, we don't have this. This doesn't exist. Now, the smart owners of that business took that information, identified it, and actually created the feature, and people loved it. But that could be an issue. People could ask, like, why don't you have this in pink? Or why don't you have this product that you can attach to your sink in the way that I want? Because ChatGPT said so. And so you have to continually listen and test and experiment for yourself. What are these AI search models telling people that may or may not be accurate, and actually have a plan in place for how to handle that? I feel like as we become more educated, understand the technology, people will be more understanding when that's the case.
And I think that's where that human element of empathy comes in, because the customer service agents were like, hey, wait a second, we don't have this. But somebody was smart enough to say, well, why is it coming up? And like kind of a logical progression would be, maybe the search engines were aggregating complaints or concerns or questions from the internet about a feature that they wanted that they couldn't find. And so for them to create, I'm like, what a great response by the company, to have the humility to say, hey, maybe this is wrong, but there's an opportunity here.
And there are going to be so many of those going forward. I think the savvy business owner has an opportunity to thrive. There's so many opportunities depending on leveraging the tech and just the ecosystem that it creates.
And I think I've had that experience myself. I make senior night gifts. I make gifts for athletes, like on their numbers. Their parents will send me pictures of sports careers or whatever. And so I'll put them on their numbers and I ship it to them. It's very, very cool keepsake, for their athletic career. But early on, when I'm writing product descriptions, chat's telling me, oh yeah, and I've got this amazing keepsake box. And I'm like, keepsake box? I don't make a keepsake box. And then I was like, why don't I make a keepsake box? Because now I've got an upsell because I'm a manufacturer. I can make anything. And so it was great because sometimes it's like those mistakes are actually some of the best ideas that I wouldn't have come up with on my own.
Little accidents. Who said that? It sounds like Bob Ross and his painting little trees, right? Happy accidents.
No mistakes, just happy accidents. Okay, so what about testing? What's the
Yes.
fastest way to test how AI sees our products? And can you do it in incognito mode? Does it matter? If you do it from your own browser, is that going to impact your results? Like, those are the types of things I'm kind of wondering.
My goodness, it's so much harder now, and it's only gonna get harder because in May, Google at Google I/O, their big conference, talked about this idea of using more and more personal context in the output. So think about when you do a local search, when you ask for a pizza place near me, it recommends pizza places within a certain geography that you can actually get to. Would it be helpful if it gave me like pizza places in Australia? So we've had an element of personalization. The AI capabilities, looking at your entire search history, looking at everything it knows about you from the various data points that you've allowed Google to collect or OpenAI to collect, is going to give you personalized answers. So monitoring becomes much more tricky. The way that some software tools are trying to solve this is they're creating fake prompts, like fake queries, fake keywords, and running them, hundreds and hundreds of times at such a scale that can give you like kind of an accurate, not precise, but like an accurate estimation of what are the recommended products that we're seeing over and over and over again. Now, I think that like points you in the right direction, but for tracking the output of this, it's going to be a lot more difficult. Anything independent of clicks you literally see come from ChatGPT, like in your referral Google Analytics data, or things that when you have a "How did you hear about us" on your form, and they actually say, "Oh, AI mode or Perplexity." Those are going to be the best ways to track the actual revenue and conversions. But to be able to track whether or not it's working, it's going to be messy. It's going to be a gray area. There are tools that allow you to do it at a kind of big scale level that aren't precise. The other option that I would recommend is starting to find people in your segment audience and having them do searches is a very inexact science, but like seeing what they're seeing. Like if you know that your average customer is a millennial who works in the financial industry, have them do some of the searches and see if you're being recommended and kind of run these tests and experiments outside of your own
I
account.
was on one of your webinars where you were with a lady who was running those experiments, and she was sharing like the insights of what people searched and what that really was like versus what we might have thought it was going to be like. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, we did this whole UX AI mode study, which was usability study, ran through 23 different people of going through these 5 tasks of, find the best credit card loyalty program, or what's the healthiest breakfast cereal for kids, or find a health clinic near you, like local, commercial. And it's so interesting the way that people search is so different. Like going back to earlier in the conversation, yes, like Google still has like 90% of the market share, but people do search on TikTok for products. They do want to go straight to Amazon. They do want to go straight to the brands that they're familiar with. So discovery is in a weird space. It's very fractured. And so in terms of your own research and your own investments, double down on what works first and then expand. Like unless you are like a massive brand, don't try to be everything to everyone all at once. Know your ideal customer and make content for them. And then as you grow, then you can
Yeah,
expand.
that's so true. And then you brought in another term, which is UX. And I felt like if you build websites and you actually are building websites to convert, you start to understand how these elements all fit together. And so even though GEO is a new term, to me, it just kind of encompasses like all of it, because when you do it yourself, you don't have like a product silo over here. You don't have an SEO team over here. You don't have usability studies coordinators over here, like you are the thing. And so like to see it all finally come under an umbrella as a conversation for everybody, I feel like, small business owners are the best position for this because we've been doing all of it. Now there's just like a comprehensive umbrella that says this is what you're doing.
It is. Everything is so holistic as a business owner, especially in the digital space. And just keep in mind, things are changing. Like, I hope everything that I said on this interview isn't outdated by the time this is published. Like, what I say today could be different tomorrow. The whole AI mode thing that we've done is available, but it's not the default version of Google search. I feel confident in the next 6 to 12 months that it will be the default version of search, and we'll all be treating Google like we do ChatGPT. And that fundamentally changes how we interact with search. And as business owners, you have to kind of be ready for that in the background.
Okay. So do you have time for about 90 seconds of rapid fire? Okay. SEO is dying. Yes or no?
No.
Gemini, Perplexity, Claude, ChatGPT, or something else?
Ooh, ChatGPT.
Best use case for AI in SEO?
Oh, it's hard to do that rapid fire. Best use case for AI and SEO, classification.
AI agents, hype or breakthrough?
Hype right now, but in 5 to 10 years.
Okay. Breakthrough?
Through-ish.
Okay. Google AI overviews, good, bad, or ugly?
Good. That's good. That's going to get me some hate.
Yeah, right? Jobs in SEO that AI is most likely to take in 2026.
Ooh, anything entry level.
Jobs least likely to be taken.
Anything strategy focused.
And best AI-powered app for SEO that no one knows about.
I don't know if no one knows, but I love Profound for monitoring performance in AI.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Garrett Sussman, thank you so much for joining me today on the Simple and Smart SEO Show podcast. This was amazing. I think I got through about a page of the 2.5 pages of questions I had, but it's a great start.
Yeah, check out that AI search manual too.
I will link to the AI search manual. And then if people want to follow you and connect with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, mostly on LinkedIn these days. I was a big Twitter person before it came X. I'm still on there, but Garrett Sussman on LinkedIn. Find me. Happy to, talk about whatever you want.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for being here. This was an incredible conversation. I knew it was going to be, and I'm excited for SEO Week in 2026. So I will see you there.
Thanks for having me, Crystal.